The Fordham, the cliffs, which you don't really see in this picture, but the cliffs all along there are famous. Professors and geology classes come.
Recognize where that is. Oh, that's coming
This
off
is
the
where you-
highway.
yeah.
Coming off the highway? Yeah, I think so.
We'll talk about the stair street in a minute, but the cliffs are famous and were visited by geology classes, but the base of them was all lined with garbage, bags and bags, 6 bags of garbage I took out of there when I started working. And it was disgusting and people did not want to walk there. So, I know that plants, especially flowers, anything that makes an area look cared for, kind of discourages littering. All right. And green streets were being built around the neighborhood. And that's what I wanted for our neighborhood. But the landlord of the Kappock, and the Knowles Crescent side, mainly one landlord, he never took care of the Kappock side, didn't clean up snow, ice, leaves, garbage, nothing. And he had a tough reputation. And I was told by a storekeeper that if I officially let them know about my reclamation project, they would close it all up with chain link fence and cement. So that's why basically it's been a guerrilla garden. And that means really that some organizations couldn't or wouldn't support it. But I thought the neighbors would support it. I thought that we would beautify our neighborhood and also we would be showing that people's work of ordinary people builds everything and makes society run. So number 2, the fence. All right, so before I could reclaim plantable spaces, or in order to reclaim plantable spaces, I had to gather the little amount of soil that there was at the base of the cliffs and before the sidewalk into some kind of fence or barrier. Nora was the first person to join me in building a fence, and we hammered in branches using a brick and eventually learned to use a double layer of horizontal tree trunks and bigger branches up against the soil, and then closely spaced vertical branches. And we gathered all these branches from the whole neighborhood, everywhere close around. The next one, 3, that shows you, the cliffs. That's some of the famous cliffs, and where the setup dictated it. I dread rocks as, big rocks as the base. And you can do it, even little skinny bee, you pull things, you get creative with a project like this. You have to get inventive. You can skid things along, big weights on a cardboard. So, and the big green leaf is a taro, which you can buy very cheaply in an Asian supermarket. I dug soil from all down Johnson Avenue at the base of the Century, shopping carts full of soil. My husband Barry and I gathered soil, stole soil from the gullies and parks.
But nobody knows that.
Nobody knows that. Don't tell Jody.
Yeah, right.
No, it was, the edges of Henry Hudson Park, there was just all garbage also there, and so neglected soil, so I took bags. And local residents saw what was going on and they donated money, so we began to be able to buy soil. Ernice joined us. She has been the most steadfast garden partner ever since. And we were able to do more. We started raking the autumn leaves and the leaf clippings. We would trim weeds and leaves and make compost, which we piled piles of leaves on the terrace alongside the Rite Aid wall. And we also got donations. Organizations let me take soil, fill up my car trunk with soil, and individuals contributed soil. And after some years, I think maybe the first year, 2017, 6 years, 8 years, was we started getting sanitation department soil. Number 4, Okay, this is a redbud tree. You see them in the parks. You know what you have to do to get a redbud tree if you don't want to spend money and buy it? I took seed pods, they have little pods in Wave Hill Park. And Wave Hill Garden, and you soak it in boiling water, you scrape it with an emery board, you soak it some more in boiling water, and finally you plant it. And voila, I have
Wow.
5 trees, okay. Next picture. Hollyhocks and lilies. These were grown, not bought. And I always say, you know, even if you're growing things from seeds, it's a crapshoot. You never know if it's gonna germinate, but that's gardening. The rest is shopping. Okay, so, but I always have a Ziploc in my pocket, so I picked up seeds like the hollyhocks. And the lilies grow from tubers, and people, I bought some, but I also was given some. And I bought packets, and the neighbors also donated signs like "Don't pick flowers." They donated, somebody left a flamingo, no gnomes yet. Okay, they would also leave plants, including houseplants or dying annuals. And it was on me, like their baby on my doorstep, to water and plant and give a home in the winter. I put out, I don't know, hundreds of signs and emails over the years asking people, you know, join in an organized way, a consistent way, but people wouldn't even consult with me, and they did not do that. Okay, next, daffodil terrace. So I got plants from organizations. Being a guerrilla organization didn't mean that the garden was an outlaw. And some organizations you could get plants. And over the years, I don't remember when it started, 100 or 200 daffodils a year. So that's the daffodil terrace, or really I call it the Christmas tree terrace, though, as you'll see in a minute. Most of the garden structure is Christmas trees. There are thousands of daffodils in all the garden sections now. I bought shrubs and perennials and annuals with contribution money. I transplanted lots of invasive native perennial plants. Some have died. It's still very shallow soil. You'd be amazed how much soil it will take to build up 4 levels of 4 blocks, you know? But the garden is finally beginning to fill in and beginning to look like a garden, not just an intention.
So I'm
After
sorry.
only 15
You know,
years.
let's, at the end,
Oh, okay.
we're gonna take
Yeah,
questions
I
at the
will.
very end,
There's
sorry, I
not-
forgot to say that.
No, they're just a word. You keep saying terracing, and I don't really understand what you mean by terracing.
You build up a horizontal like you do with the fence. You knock in verticals, and then you can pile in soil. So where there was just a rock under there, a bare rock, I made a plantable area, you know, like they do in Peru or Japan.
Or-
Except I'm not growing rice.
Right.
Okay, so that's terracing. And I would say about the plants to fill it all in with yellow iris, loose strife, black-eyed Susans, lemon balm. I took lots of lemon balm, overgrowing the Shervier Community Garden. Daylilies, jump seeds, all perennials. They spread like mad. They're excellent for greening up, if that's what you want to do, greening up a bare area. And the irises stay green, foliage stays green year round. Number 7. Christmas terrace. All right, so these are, you see how all right, on that rock, I couldn't do anything. But where there is like a little break between the rocks, you could make terraces. And the whole framework of the terrace is mostly discarded Christmas trees, which Barry and I drove around. We scavenged them after New Year's. And then people started bringing them. And Ernest and Barry and I lopped off the branches And for quite a few years, we spread the branches the whole length of Kappock Street and the Stair Street, so that people had something nice smelling and green to look at all winter. Claiming the space outstripped the planting or even filling in the soil for a very long time. And I'll explain why. People would say, well, why don't you just really fill in a lot of plants in one area? Because it was kind of a contest with the trashers. Because any area, you fill in one area with plants, then they throw cans, lottery tickets, and they especially love throwing bottles up on the cliff, and people still do that. Like, they think it's hidden or something, so I have to climb in over the railing and climb up and retrieve it. But any bare area to litterers is fair game, so therefore you gotta show you claimed it, for nature. So, let's see, number 8. This is a yellow magnolia in the triangle garden at the corner of Knowles and Kappa. Mr. Lee was the grocer at the Fresh King, the grocery, and he was really a gardener at heart. He planted roses, that's a separate landlord, and that's a private space too. And it was just shallow soil and rubble, rocks and rubble, but he managed to plant roses. He and I got this yellow magnolia from the Million Trees Project.
That is a flower.
That's a yellow magnolia, that's the tree, and it's in flower. And sometimes they even flower in February. I don't remember what month this was. But one day, this is a danger of a public space gardening, any kind, official or not. A driver lost control along Knowles Crescent. He knocked down the fence, the triangle garden fence. He chopped the magnolia tree in half, and he kept going down Kappock Street.
Oh, jeez.
But the magnolia survived, and it grew back. And then this last year, skateboarders were skating on the railing, the fence, and they knocked down a lot of foliage. Somehow I've kept them out so far with putting back bottle caps on tape on the railing so far. So let's see. Next, the yellow rose. Yes. Mr. Lee retired from the grocery. I adopted the triangle, made it part of the Kappock Street garden. And we're getting the jungly inner portion under control, even though it's full of poison ivy. It's very hard to work. But we trim the forsythias. Ernest particularly faithfully trims the forsythia that hang over the bus stop. Viewed as shelter on it, but they don't want to be tickled by the branches. She works that all the time. Let's see, number 10. So, the yellow rose died last year, but the angel trumpet, this was last year, year before, it's getting ready to bloom again. And a hummingbird fed on the hostas in there. And the mirabilis, you see the pink blossoms, they're putting out thousands of little seeds that look like BBs. And I urge you to take them, help yourself. They're a very hardy plant, and all of them will feed the bugs. And we do need to help the bugs, because the bugs, the insects are the basic of the web of life. And they're under serious threat from climate crisis and from habitat loss. So any flower is a help to our bugs.
Yeah, even the snake root, which looks a
Even the
little,
snake root.
which the
The
little white
bees
flower,
love that. The bees
especially in the
love
fall.
that. Oh, they love that. They
I have
all
that
love
growing in
that.
my front yard, yeah.
Let's see,
Ready for
number 11.
Okay.
All right, cobbles, you see the cobbles up there toward the top of the stair street, and a shade guard. Nature can survive even over pavement. That stair street between 25 and the Rite Aid, it goes down to Kappock Street. It is a very busy commuter street. And the top of it is the overflowing dumpsters for Ben's. So the ivy, and you can see the ivy here. There's a little bit at the top, but there was just all ivy, which was a rat cover. and a garbage magnet, and the area was just begging to be cared. So, but it was cobblestones. It took season after season of piling dirt on the cobblestones. And then I was able to plant hostas and ferns. And those are plants that live in dry shade. They can survive. And dry shade is the defining feature of this garden. Because most of Kappock Street is in a canyon. It's between the stores and 555. Gets very little light, and there's no water source on the whole garden side, no hydrant. All right, so, next picture. I tried, no, well, this is some of the ivy now, see, and a sign that says, save Kappock Garden, because we'll get to the water problem in a moment. All right, next. The garden water system, no, I'm good.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah, all right, that's my garden watering system, yellow jugs, they were antifreeze jugs, and a shopping cart. I tried every which way to get water to the garden. I brought water in, from my apartment for a long time, trip after trip in the shopping cart. 8 jugs, each gallon jug weighs 8 pounds. So one shopping cart, 64 pounds. I tried 10 jugs once, it broke the axle, 80 pounds. Okay, so, let's see, the runoff harvest. Yes, so, a funnel and a hose. I tried to capture rain running off from some of the stores and runoff from the condensation from the air conditioners. But the air conditioners were repaired, so they didn't run off anymore. And then someone stole part of the hose. Okay, I also put tubs on the cliff tops to catch rain. But, you know, this sounds like one long stretch. This is what happens. The tubs wouldn't catch the rain because the store's shadow. The rain didn't, unless it was coming from the east, it didn't get past the wall. The Kappock Cafe had a spout in the back of their store. And they used that spout to swap the restaurant floor. And sometimes onto me if I was standing in the garden office. So I approached them and the other storekeepers. If I would pay them for a water, they wouldn't provide. A board member in 555 allowed me to fill my jugs at the 555 spout. And my dear Barry faithfully dragged jugs and watered plants for years. And Ernie still does it at 88. And they are my heroes. In 2019, management locked me out of this 555 spout. Garden members saw the sign, Save the Garden. Garden members got up a petition on change.org and got 100 signatures nationally, but only 20 for 555. So for 2 more years, I had to go uphill to my co-op spout to water the whole garden up and down. And in 2021, a new board allowed me to use 555's water again. I put mulch, leaf mulch, we put leaf mulch over everything that holds some moisture. I dig water absorbing crystals into the soil. If rain falls on them, they will hold more of it. And I was still watering, even with those things in the summer, 2 hours a day. 2 hours a day to just barely keep plantings alive. Signs asking neighborhood residents to bring a bottle and water a plant or 2. They don't get a response. Upper Stair Street.
You good?
Okay, there's the Upper Stair Street. It's much more full now of nice bright annuals that a new garden member has been planting. And she has set up a hose and spout coming off in front of 25. And it's, you know, keeping those nice bright annuals alive. And these are There's a plume poppy up there that I got from Callista, my neighbor, and roses of Sharon, which put out millions of seeds and would take over if you let them. But meantime, they were making a nice show where there was nothing else. So with a little extension on Jennifer's hose, maybe I could reach the center of the stair street. The upper portion of the center along the Rite Aid wall, it's all rock and rubble, it's in shade, and we don't water it. But because for years, we piled the leaves there and compost, so now it has growing roses of Sharon, morning glories, canna, and tulip tree, and even a bald cypress came as a little stick from Marvin Goodman, who you might remember. You know, that should be in Florida with alligators, but we have a bald cypress. All right, 16, the garbage bag. The litter is still a problem, but it's less so when the whole area is getting more cared. I've learned to keep the openings of the garbage bag smaller so people can't fill it all up in one day with a pizza box. I've learned to hang fewer of them, as Jody suggested, because people were coming from far and wide with their household garbage and even auto parts. An unknown helper has been for years hanging cans for cigarette butts. There's a lot, and empties, there's a lot fewer cigarette butts around now, people are smoking less, but I've been finding needles in the cans, also elsewhere in the garden. It's a worrying trend. 17, tree pits. First, let's see. No,
Oh, you know what it is? There we go. There we go.
That's
Okay, and then we'll just-
Tree pit on Knowles Crescent. The trees that the city put in, but they never watered, they would put in full-size mature trees, and they would die. Nobody would water them through the summer. And of course, those squares would fill up with garbage and dogwood. I put edges, you know, tree trunks around, built so I could build it up with more soil. I brought catalpa saplings, little ones, 1 foot or 2 foot, from the Stair Street area. And they take a lot less water. And that's 1 year. That's 1 year for
The tree is, the tree is.
the tree is the catalpa, and that grew up, shot up, and ditto on the next picture. Planted also
There we go. Tree
there
pits.
on west on Kappock Street. Planted catalpas, planted mirabilis around it, and it keeps out the mildew and the litter to a large extent. Planted spaces have survived, even in the drought. Those planted spaces, it's amazing, them and the triangle, the tree pits and the triangle, because planted areas hold, the soil holds the moisture better, the plants hold the moisture better, and they cool off their own area and the surrounding area. The garden survives now, even though I have failed personally to organize a community effort. I keep imagining how beautiful the neighborhood could be with more participation. We might be able to get help at the tree pits from the storekeepers. The landlord seems to be fine with getting all my free landscaping and erosion control services. And he's even spruced up behind the stores and painted the garden office. So with more participation, we could possibly get a water source. I could get a break. Party sign. This is, the garden has produced these and many, many more flowers for our human and insect community over the years. Jody Colon is a park steward. She assembled this sign for our street party celebrating 14 years of the garden. 20. Young helpers with friends. The response of young people is enthusiastic when their parents bring it. Kids love putting in transplants and bulbs and seeds, and they especially love finding creepy crawly. The little girl on the right with the black gloves, she's holding a worm. The high schoolers who garden with me in the spring and the summer, they say, and there's one working with me now every couple of weeks. They say that, the construction, the composting, the masonry, and all of the different varied things that it takes. They say that's fun. I think so too, but it's a lot of work. Making a street garden is a great way to combat nature deficit disorder. 21, compost pallet. This is sanitation compost, 60 bags. They say 40, I think they're 25 pounds each. I could not possibly lift a 40-pound bag. But there's no way one old lady could do this, so 22, compost group. I did get mobilization yearly, that's what people will turn out for, the yearly hours-long spreading of the compost and storing what we couldn't spread. It has to be done in one day, because once the pallet is unsealed, anybody can walk off with a bag, or they could come with a truck and take many bags. So we gotta do it, and next to me are my friends Nora in the pink cap and her niece in the yellow. Okay, and the neighbors at the right, including Lista, Martin, they were 80 when this picture was taken, 2017. So what I say from that is, please take part in greening a neighborhood area, especially this neighborhood area. Do it even if you're old and it hurts. I ache all over, I'm 82, I was a dancer, full of arthritis, but moving really makes a huge difference. Gardening's varied motions are known excellent physical therapy. And I'll show you stretches to warm up and stretch your old ligaments. This would be a vital service to yourself, to your neighborhood, to the environment. It would also be a service to society. Community gardeners all find it tremendously hard to get participation. But group gardening seems to do better off and private areas. And to me, that confirms the nature of the problem that we're up against. There's a notion that's been promoted for 3 generations from the top, from all institutions of society, that the only private gain counts, that you're on your own, there's no common good. We can defy this poisonous idea. Every public space that we plant together would show that social is not a dirty book. 4 questions, let me just ask you. You can take down my email and contact me in the garden. I'll leave it.
You wanna leave this and I can,
Leave it,
hold
or
on to
you
it
can,
and
or
ask.
you could, put your contact information on the list.
Absolutely. I'll keep it in my office, and if anybody's interested, absolutely, I will be happy to share it.
All right, anybody got questions?
Okay, including online.
I remember when we were together, you gave me one, you call. The one that I told you that you told me that they don't want to grow here. You gave me one in a little thing like this in a pot, and I planted in a church. There's a big, beautiful tree.
Is it one of the Catawbas?
And no, there's a, they call it. That one that I told you that,
I'm trying to remember, I don't remember off the top of my
you
head.
know that one that growing in the street? You know, they had that little, the stinking, they call it.
Oh, the smelly one?
Yeah, that one that smell.
A ginkgo.
A jingle.
A ginkgo.
It's
Oh.
so big. And you know, last year, I think of the thing, and I have it at home, and I planted
Yeah.
little things they grow. He told me, throw it out, they don't,
Yeah, you know,
they don't want it no more.
the city doesn't want to plant the females because the fruit
might wanna
is so
repeat.
stinky.
Repeat kind of what she said, so people online can hear you, so if anybody asks questions or something.
I must have given a little seedling from a ginkgo to this lady. What's your name?
Perennial.
They grow.
Perennial.
Perennial.
And it grew. but they do smell.
But she told me let it go, because I wanted to give it to her, and she said no, because the government don't want them plant.
The tree doesn't smell, but the female trees put out a very smelly fruit. And the city won't plant ginkgos, but they won't
They
plant.
do the males, they plant the males only. Yeah.
Yeah.
No plantation.
Right, but I mean, they're ancient trees. I mean, they're
Yeah.
prehistoric. They have,
I'm in the middle of the church, and in one place, I'm telling you, they're so big.
oh, they are so
I don't
hard.
know how often
Could you
they
send me
go
a picture? I'd love to see that.
Oh, okay, I will
Yeah.
bring them to you, yeah.
Great.
Nice. Anybody online have a question? Comment? Oh, we have a question, Laura.
Yeah, you've been doing 15 years, started in '09.
No, the question was, how long you been doing this? Says you did
Imagine
15
if I
years.
had, oh, we could have done it in 2 years. Oh, I should mention one other thing. That really, the fence keeps crumbling, the terraces keep crumbling, it's wood. And really, for the long term, it should be rocks with mortar. But that takes money and it takes helpers. So, something to think about.
So Lisa, online, you have a question.
Yeah, hi. I'm not sure if somebody mentioned this already, but I know with the ginkgo, the fruit that fall down from the trees, that a lot of Asian people, I think Chinese, they collect them and they boil them and they use them, like because a lot of people take the ginkgo supplement for memory, for Alzheimer's, whatever you take it for. So I just want to say that would be a real loss for a lot of people. I'm in Brooklyn, okay, but I remember when they used to. I remember like when they would come and collect them in the park. It was a big deal. And now I'm in Sheepshead Bay and I see the same thing.
Yeah.
I see the same thing. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. So, Roberta, you have a question?
I do. You mentioned the need for volunteers and capable volunteers. And I know that high school students have service that they are required to do a certain amount per year. And I'm just wondering if it pays. We have so many high schoolers here and private and public schools that possibly can be called upon on a rotating basis. And with so many classes on a grade in a high school, maybe it could become a kind of program that could be publicized. And so it would be good advertising for the school, wonderful for the students to be able to be volunteers and participate, and absolutely wonderful for the community.
It really would. I agree completely. And I have had help from the Ellis program at JFK. And it's wonderful. And they enjoyed it a lot, even though it was the height of the summer. It was really hard work, especially the watering. But yes, it was very good. I've had the Ellis kids came and planted daffodil bulbs a couple of years ago. And it has been, the garden has been publicized repeatedly in the Riverdale Press. But only Ellis, only the Ellis program has ever offered me help. I could go around, I could spend hours going around to all the schools. But I'm spending hours at the garden. So if anybody who is a member wants to do a non-physical thing, they could be doing the contacting. I would appreciate that a great deal.
I think the contact has to be with administration of the different schools.
And
And
again,
that-
part of it is that it's not an official garden.
Ah,
So one time, in response to one Riverdale Press article, a third grade class teacher contacted me and said, this would be wonderful. And I said, yes, it would, and the kids would love it. But, I'll need you to sign a waiver and they'll have to kneel on paper, newspaper, because the area is full of dog poo and glass. And that was the last that I ever heard of it. So.
Anybody else? Anybody here?
Yeah,
Just repeat the question when she asked it.
so again, Rita, the terracing.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how important it was for you to terrace that area and the amount of work that went into terracing.
Oh, yeah,
Because you can't plant unless you terrace.
unless you do.
And to terrace, you have to use all these found branches, which to some people doesn't look pretty. But the bottom line is, you know, they have to think about the end result,
Yeah,
which is we're trying to mitigate garbage. And
Yeah.
if you don't plant, if you don't terrace, so you can plant,
yeah,
we'll just have a sidewalk which will be filled with dog food and garbage.
exactly, thank you. I mean, the terracing is hard to build the daffodil terrace, for example. I had to tie off to a tree at the cliff top and work my way down, holding the equipment, hanging on a rope, and also work my way up. And yes, I agree that, you know, people have said, I mean, ideally, as I mentioned, it should be nice layers of Belgian block, it should be mortared in. Can I do that? No. And also, I keep planting irises, lots of irises. And with, you know, with time, they will hide the sticks and hold the whole thing together. The roots will hold the whole thing together. The aim is not to make it look worse, but to make it look better. But yeah, I mean, if you just have, you see the bare cliffs, nothing except bottles can grow on. You have to make a plantable area if you're gonna reclaim. That's what reclaiming means. Yes.
What about contacting local businesses?
So the question was, what about contacting local business? Just want to, can everybody hear the questions online? When they're asking questions of the comments of people in the audience here?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I just
I,
want to make sure.
I would love local businesses to get involved, but it can't be me going begging to each storekeeper. I've been doing that for 15 years. I have an email list, contact list of people who were fans of the garden and, you know, would give me money sometimes or just moral support. And I prepared a letter to the storekeepers, please at least water the tree pits, clean them up. Please, you are supporters of the garden, give this letter to the storekeepers. Nobody would do it. I have to have some degree of, some critical mass of participation. And then we can talk about, I'm not gonna run to politicians, just me. That wouldn't be right. We've talked about getting a grant for water source, you know, putting a spout through the walls of the stores. You need to have some backing. People tell me, oh, you love doing it. That's their help, you know, oh, you love doing it. I need actual participation, just a half an hour a week
Yeah.
from 4 more people, just a half an hour a week. But this is a political problem, it's a social problem. It's not just that they don't like my face, really.
Callista, I think somebody, are you unmuted because you want to ask a question?
No, but I don't have a question, but I just have a few words of appreciation for Rita for sticking with this for so many years. I have gotten to know her through our mutual interest in gardening, and I'm so impressed with her commitment to it. And we all benefit from having a more beautiful.
Is there anybody else?
All right, well, thank you all.
One last thing.
Okay,
It takes,
oh, we have one more thing.
it takes a critical mass,
Critical mass.
meaning the neighborhood has to want the neighborhood to look better. And as I've said to you in the past, Rita, you have a captive audience because most of our neighbors use the stores on the North Crescent. And if our neighbors came out and said to the storekeepers, donate some money so we can help Rita, whether it be watering or finding some kind of a hydraulic system so you can get water, it would help, because we all want our neighborhood to look better, right? Or to be nice and not have tree pits filled with garbage, I think.
Or even to go, you know, even sign a petition and go to Ben's, who's, you know, the new owner is making a start, but he's been letting the garbage dumpsters overflow. Well, that's just an inducement to everybody else to litter the whole storefront in. So, I mean, look, it can't be just me running, so even if I just had 5 people signing a petition, just some actual concrete participation, I beg you for. Yes, thank you, that would be wonderful.
That's it. Anybody else?
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rita. That's great. And I think everybody really appreciates it. So, feel free. If anybody wants to get in touch, I'll put Rita's email address in the chat. So if anybody would like to, get in touch with her, as soon as I find the chat, there we go. Online, you can give her a, there you go. All right, so now you can get in touch with her if you need anything, if you have any questions or anything. All right, so thank you very much. And it was great seeing you. Joy, thank you for joining online.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.